So it's been a while. It's been a while since we've done this. And I told you the last time that we did that we wouldn't be doing it every week because it would lose its effect. But it just seems like today is an appropriate time again to take a moment and step out of your pews. Find one person that you've never spoken to before or you've never met before, and just give them a warm welcome and a warm greeting. And if you want to choose more than one person, I'll wait for you until you're done. Please do that at this time. Wow. That took a while, but that's a good thing. It wasn't like this at the other Mass. Oh, go ahead, you can sit now. You don't have to stand through the whole homily. So another reason that I wanted to do this today is because there's so much going on in our world. Divisiveness, incivility in our nation, in our world, and in our communities. And I thought we need to try to come together and be people of God and people of love. But also because today begins a 4-week sequence in our gospel, where in the gospel from Mark, we're going to hear stories each week about Jesus and his disciples going out and traveling and encountering new people along the way and their opportunity to encounter Jesus on his travels. So I want to ask you, as you encountered somebody new today, what thought was going through your head? Were you perhaps thinking about similarities you may have with that person that you met or spoke with? Or thinking maybe about the differences that you, on first impression, think you have with that person? Or maybe it was just something as simple as, I have the opportunity to greet and meet someone else who loves Jesus the way that I do. And maybe it was none of those things. I don't proclaim to have the market cornered on what you were thinking, but I'm sure there was some thought going through your head about that person that you encountered. Because many times when we meet a person or a group of people for the first time, we form first impressions, initial impressions of those people. And sometimes those impressions could be similarities we think we have with them. Other times it could be differences we have with them. And when we have differences with other people, they don't necessarily have to be bad. There are certainly good differences. If we meet someone new for the first time, and we embrace them and we celebrate them because of the differences between us, that's certainly a good thing. That's a positive thing. And as I was thinking about the homily this week, I was thinking about my days back in the business world, when we were taught that when a group of people come together to solve a problem, the solution is always much better when you have those collective thoughts rather than one people or one person trying to solve that problem on their own. Many times, though, when we think of somebody as being different, we think about it in terms of our own biases, our own prejudices. And that's when those differences become impediments to us and to the people that we are meeting. And when that happens, that is the devil, the evil one at work in our world. Because he is always trying to create divisions among us, but most importantly, divisions between us and our loving God. And we have to resist those temptations. We have to resist those thoughts because we have a God who loves us. We have a God, as we heard in the book of Wisdom, loves us so much that he wanted us to be immortal. He didn't want death to be in the world, but it was because of the evil one that death came into the world. But God's love for us is so strong that even though we don't live immortal lives here, he has promised us the gift of eternal life with him in heaven, as we read in the book of the prophet Isaiah, when God says he'll destroy death forever. But we have to live up to that. We have to live up to what God expects from us. And if our first thoughts meeting somebody new is a difference between us, look to that first reading from Wisdom today, where where God says that he doesn't want us to be away from him. He doesn't want us to be separated from him, because he created us all in his image, in his likeness. And when we think about those differences, we should always be able to think about that one thing that each and every one of us have that's the same, not just similar, but the same. That we have one true Father, the Father in heaven who loves us. And that he created us in his image and likeness to be equal in all things. That's where the similarities should outweigh the differences. That's where we should know what it is that God is looking for us, because it's what he gives to us, his gift to us. I just finished reading a book, and it's one of the better books that I've read recently for a couple of reasons that I'll mention in a moment. But the book was written by a Catholic priest, a Jesuit, by the name of Father James Martin. And the title of that book is Building a Bridge. And that book is all about a bridge that needs to be built between the Catholic Church and the LGBT community. And in this book, Father Martin talks about his thoughts and his ideas of how a relationship can be developed out of love, respect, and sincerity between those two groups. Because there's obviously something that's missing when a community and a group of people feel for any reason that they're not welcome in the Catholic Church. Because all people should feel welcome. We should make it our point to welcome all people. And the reasons that I like this book were really two. In its simplicity. Every suggestion that Father Martin makes about how the church and how that community can find a commonality to come together to respect one another, every time I read one of them, it was one of those, that should be common sense. Because it's all just about respecting one another. Not looking at our differences, but looking at our similarities. And especially that similarity that we all want, if we want to be here, we are all here because we love Jesus Christ. That's one of the reasons I like that book so much. But the other reason is you could take that community out of the equation and put in any other community, any other group, any other person who doesn't feel welcome in our church. And the same guidelines, the same suggestions he makes would work there as well. Because no one should feel that they are not welcome here. So what I would ask of all of us today and in the few days ahead, give some thought. Has there ever been a time in your life that you haven't felt welcome here in the Catholic Church? But most specifically here at St. Colman. Or do you know of someone or some group who still does not feel welcome and who still stays away from the church because they don't feel like they belong? And if you do, I would ask you to do this. Come see Father Jim or me. Come talk to us so that we can understand why you don't feel that way. And so that we can work together to close that gap, to build that bridge, to make sure that you know that you are loved, that you are welcome here. You know, God works in some mysterious ways. You hear that expression all the time. And I had prepared this homily early in the week, but last night before Saturday night Mass, I was going through my evening prayer. And the antiphon before the Canticle of Mary just spoke to me that I chose the right message today. And let me just read it to you. This is Jesus speaking. Those who welcome you are welcoming me. And those who welcome me are welcoming him who sent me. That's our mission. That's all of our responsibilities to do, but especially as clergy, it's our responsibility to make everybody feel welcome. And if we're not living up to that responsibility, then we have a lot of work to do. Because if you've ever read at the bottom of the front page of our bulletin, under the statue of our patron saint, St. Colman, these are the words of what our church here always wants to be about. No matter what your present or past status in the Catholic Church, no matter what your current family or marital status, no matter what your past or present religious affiliation, no matter what your personal history, age, background, race, or color, you are invited, welcomed, accepted, and loved at St. Colman Church. If you don't feel that way, please take the time to come and speak to one of us so that we can work through that, so that all people at all times always feel welcome here.